pretty sure.
All right, cool. We're going to assume that we're live. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Newegg TV live stream show. We actually don't have a name for our show quite yet. More on that in just a moment. But this is our live stream. We're going to be doing this every week on Fridays, starting at 3 p.m. Of course, we'll update you guys if we change the time, but we're sticking with 3 p.m. for now.
It works.
And our live stream is currently probably one of the only live streams about tech that's currently out there.
Yeah, it's especially not on Fridays.
Especially on Fridays.
Yeah,
no.
That's the only one.
Clearly we're being facetious. All right, I can't hear anything right now. I'm going to take these off for the time being. But thank you guys all for joining us today. We're very excited. We've got some tech topics to discuss with y'all. And again, I'm here with Steve. I should have mentioned that.
That's okay. I'm just furniture in the background.
No, Steve's been wonderful so far. Steve's like our live stream kind of guru. He's been doing a lot of the setup and configuration for the live streaming systems and how we have everything looking, which should be looking nice and pretty.
Yeah,
right?
We got some cool stuff to show.
Yeah, we got the thumbs up over there. We also got Cheddar Ches over there in the background. He's moderating things. So
as well as Rachel, she's also in the chat room. I'm sure you guys have noticed, probably under Newegg TV.
Yes,
so.
And I think Kyle's in there too.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Nice.
In case you guys are wondering, we're going to be rotating like hosts over time. You know, we're all going to be taking turns with that. So you will be seeing other members of Newegg TV if that's what you're looking for. But for now, you're stuck with us. Sorry. What am I forgetting? We do have a list. Okay, our first topic is going to be what the heck is our live stream called? We don't currently have a name.
Nope.
We've had some ideas. Did you have any? You had some ideas, didn't you, Steve?
Yeah, the fried egg show. Friday. Oh, yeah, it's a bad egg pun. We're trying to move away from it.
I hate egg puns, and I refuse to call it the fried egg show. I'm sorry. No, well, but we know that you guys have fantastic ideas and bright minds that work very well. So if you guys want to leave us either comment on this video if it's uploaded to YouTube later, or in the Twitch chat for right now, or you can tweet to Steve or I, and our Twitter names are right down there. So this is Steve_OMG, and I'm Paul Hardware. And let us know what you think the name of our live stream show should be.
Yes, and because we like to crowdsource all of our ideas. Yeah,
exactly. We figured, you know, we could try to think of something, but it would nowhere near be as good as what you guys could probably come up with. So. And just as expected, the not WAN show, the pre-WAN show, yeah, you know, all those are fair game.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah. All right. So we are not under any delusion here that this is not going to be set up against the WAN show to some extent. We are friends with Linus. We like him. He has been very kind to us so far. So I don't know if he's watching right now or not, but he said he would send us a tweet for this stream at least. And we're hoping that at some point we can like give you guys messages to give to him in his show later on. I don't know, maybe we can, you know, troll him or something like that. I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities for that sort of thing. But yeah, that's kind of it for the beginning. And then since we are kind of coupling this with Twitter, we have a Twitter question for you guys right now. So I'm going to ask you guys to use a hashtag and ask us a question, and we'll come back to that in just a few minutes and get your responses. The hashtag is not nerdy enough. And the idea here is that all of us are nerds to some degree or another, nerds, geeks, whatever you want to call it. We're all into tech. We don't deny that. And there's lots of different areas of nerddom, however. So like Steve, for example, loves Apple devices. And no.
I wouldn't say I love Apple devices. You know.
No, that's Steve's into a ton of stuff. Steve's into live streaming for sure. He's done a lot of stuff in that. Steve's into owning every possible game on Steam.
Well, GMG and a lot of other
and good old games and all the other good ones out there. Mm-hmm. But Steve, there have to be areas where you feel you could be nerdier. Or things that you're interested in, but you're like, I don't know everything about that subject. So what would be something that you...
you know, honestly, I've been learning a little bit of information about hyperbaric chambers and how they're used to heal people. I think it's totally fascinating. But that's, you know, more on the science side than the tech side, but still something I would like to learn more about.
That sounds like the best idea in the history of humanity or the universe throughout all of time. No, that's the hyperbolic chamber. I'm sorry, I was getting that confused.
Yeah, anyways.
All right. this is what you can expect from our live stream show.
Complete awkwardness.
So from my like not nerdy enough, I would say like the fundamentals of science and physics are something that, you know, I got that kind of brief smattering of in high school,
right.
But there's still so many little detailed elements of, you know, just like how electricity works. Like I have a basic working knowledge of that, but there's a lot of stuff when it comes to, like, you know, how everything's classified and that sort of thing. So that's an area that I'd like to get better in, and I'd like to get better at soldering, because I've only done a very, very little bit of soldering, and I'd like to improve my skills there. But I'm sure you guys maybe also have some ideas of where you might not be nerdy enough. So that's all we're asking. Send us a tweet either to SteveOMG or me, and put hashtag not nerdy enough, and in a few minutes we'll come back to that and we'll read off some of your not nerdy enough statements. Awesome.
So what else we got, Paul? We got
responses. I'm just looking at chat briefly. Everything's going very smoothly. Thanks to all you guys in there. Okay, but on to our first topic. Our first topic is a big one, which just announced yesterday. That is Amd Mantle. That's a topic you guys have probably heard a lot about already. Side note, right now we have a bell that goes off. It's about to go off again, so I apologize for that. Yeah. But Amd Mantle is something that was announced many moons ago. It's something that people have been looking forward to, because what the basic idea is, you take your graphics card, you use Mantle.
Sorry about that, guys. We kind of lost connection there for a moment. Hopefully that'll be it. If not, we might have to do some emergency tech really quickly and fix it. But
that's just what happens whenever the bell goes off. The live stream drops. That's how we have everything wired up in here.
Yeah, everything.
The bell uses a lot of our network resources. So, all right.
So right now you guys are seeing this article that Paul's looked up here about AMD Catalyst 14.1 drivers that are incoming with the Mantle update and more.
Yes. So the two parts of that you will need in order to use Mantle, that's assuming that you have an AMD graphics card that uses GCN architecture, which is basically 7000 series, or the new R9 or R7 series. You'll need the Battlefield 4 update, and you will need the driver from AMD. And the driver from AMD was also supposed to go up yesterday. However, as of this morning, AMD Radeon Graphics is telling us our driver team is still working on putting the final touches on the Catalyst 14.1 beta. It's also a beta driver, so bear that in mind. We will keep you updated, and I've been checking this throughout the day, but it looks like still no updates. So whereas you might already have the Mantle patch for Battlefield 4, you will also need the Catalyst 14.1 beta drivers in order to actually switch it over to that API and see what kind of performance you can get. We're still waiting on that. I'm going to be hopefully trying that out as soon as it's available. And I know, Steve, are you going to try that out? Do you have any AMD cards you're running right now, personally?
I'm probably going to have to borrow one if that's possible.
We'll look into the archives and see how that works. But then the other thing I wanted to point out, just in case you guys wanted some numbers, because they have released some numbers on this topic as far as the type of performance benefits we should be seeing. So they have, at least this Maximum PC article that we're looking at right here, has some links or some suggestions. So for instance, with an A10 7700K and an R9 290X, which is a fairly lower powered CPU from that APU and a pretty high powered GPU, that's where they got a huge improvement, 40% improvement at 1080p as well as at 1600p.
Very nice.
And yes, that's pretty nice. So basically the upshot of this, because there's some other configurations listed that don't have as good of performance boosts, is if your CPU is underpowered but your GPU is overpowered, then you can potentially get a lot of help from using Mantle instead of DirectX. And of course,
just optimize the hell out of it.
Yeah. So from what we understand, it removes a lot of that CPU overhead, and it allows the game to perform much more smoothly. And then the other sort of thing to note is that apart from Battlefield 4, there's really not a whole lot of other games that are currently available. They have a demo called Star Swarm. We actually saw this at the CES, pre-CES Kaveri launch day event, and that one was really impressive because it was actually an on-screen demonstration that they did. On the one side, they had an sort of a normal integrated GPU running, and then on the other side they had a Kaveri with an iGPU running it, and it was a crazy demo. Tons and tons of different elements moving around throughout the screen. It was in space with spaceships flying around and explosions, and it was literally like 4 times as fast. I think it was like getting like 15 frames per second on the one, and then it was getting closer to 60 frames on the APU. So,
nice job,
that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
So in the future, hopefully, you might be able to get an AMD APU play your Mantle-enabled games and get a lot of performance for your dollar, which is always nice.
Get a nice, inexpensive CPU to play with any games that you want.
Yeah, and that is the upshot. If you are going to play Mantle games, you can get a lower-powered CPU and a higher-powered GPU and be just fine. But who knows how that might affect non-Mantle games? I guess it wouldn't if it's not Mantle. Yeah, but all right. So that's topic number 1.
All right, and let's see. We're going to move on to.
We have another. Oh yes.
Shack?
Okay, this is a funny article that we kind of came across today. This was on the Washington Post. So this is a Radio Shack ad from 1991, and it's like the power of technology, the advancement of technology. So they're comparing it to an iPhone. I would say any smartphone that's reasonably powered could also be interchangeable here. But this ad is from 1991, and basically they're saying of the $3,000 worth of equipment on this in this ad, you could basically replace all of it with like an iPhone or an Android phone or something like that. Yeah. So like, what do we even have on there? Like,
oh geez. Well, first off, of course, a computer, but this is a really slow one. It's 286 based, so that's pretty beat.
It has a color monitor.
I think we got that covered, and probably killing it.
It's a good selling point.
Too. Let's see. So you got that, and then of course you've got phones, which is nice because I actually don't use my phone very often for phone calls. It's mostly for everything else, browsing the internet and such. We got a CD player, which we can probably chalk that up to media playing, right? Yeah,
media playback. I mean, anything you play MP3s on your phone, it does essentially the same thing.
Nice. Okay, and then these two were kind of a little bit on the edge or on the fence about. So a radar detector, right? So there's no, except for maybe Waze, and I wouldn't really consider that a radar detector. It's more of a cop detector, and it would depend on everybody in your neighborhood using it, or everybody in the area using it, because it's crowdsourcing. So
it's not exactly the same technology, but it can theoretically get the same job done to some extent.
Then we've also got a compact 10-channel desktop scanner, and if we're talking about decoding kind of the police scanners and like EMT scanners, there are apps out there that just tap into the streams that you can download, because those precincts are just uploading them to the net and letting people download the stream and listen to it live. And some precincts almost up to the second. Others have a delay, but anyways, I'm kind of going off track on that. CB radio. Have you ever had a CB radio app before? That's
not an app. No, I mean we did have a CB radio when we used to go on road trips when I was a kid.
You're kidding me?
Yeah.
Breaker 190.
Yeah, you try to talk with the truckers and see what was going on at the local truck stop.
So answering machine, clearly, also voice recorder and speakers and a camera. So. The basic stuff here, plus some additional things you can get with apps.
All stuff you can do with your phone now for less than $3,000.
Very funny.
Anyway, kind of exciting. All right, so we've given a little bit of time now, so I'm going to go ahead and, you know what I should have done? I should have had this set up not nerdy enough. Let's see. Let's see if people responded to our hashtag. Oh my gosh, we did. We have some responses. Oh yeah, lots of responses. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys very much.
It's always the question. You're like, what if nobody says anything?
We'll just roll with it. Ches, tweet us something quickly.
Wait, hold on. People have already been using this hashtag. My first tweets are from 2012.
Okay.
And now I'm to March,
we'll start
November.
with those and work our way up
to these are more recent. Cosmology and physics. That makes sense. Okay. A little bit of both. Do you think the Xbox One and PS4 are getting near in price? I don't think that's really... I'm dumb about wireless technology, cloud computing, and such. That's a good one as well. I would say that I am pretty limited in that area too. We've had some guests who have come in to talk about like wireless stuff that have really opened our eyes about some of those things. Like for instance, did you know that if you're not getting a wireless signal everywhere in your house, one of the first places you should look for a culprit is a baby monitor?
Yeah, that's right. I remember that when MetaGeek was talking about that.
Yeah, so that was MetaGeek. They had a really cool app. It was an app. You needed the dongle thing too, right?
It's a program. And it uses any dual band Wi-Fi adapter, and then it just uses the software. We're actually supposed to be implementing that in some tests that we actually haven't gotten around to doing. But essentially, yeah. And there's also some free software that MetaGeek has provided for other brands that I forget the name off the top of my head right now. It's a green and black logo, Power something, I forget, but it's a Wi-Fi brand. But yeah, it's cool tech. Cool tech.
What are your thoughts on Oculus Crystal Cove?
That's something I wish I was more into.
I'm not nerdy enough about that. I haven't even tried the Oculus. I've seen it 2 or 3 times. I've never actually gotten the chance to put it on and try it out, but I know it's very exciting. I've read a lot of the stuff about it, and it's just I haven't tried it myself yet.
I think it's the Omni. When we were at what is it, Comic-Con, I got to try out the Omni just really briefly. We didn't do a story on it or anything like that.
It's almost a curved walking area, so you can actually walk around, and it's so you can walk in the game basically, but it keeps you stationary still. So it integrates that whole walking as part of the whole experience.
But
virtual reality.
No, I haven't had a chance to do that, and I would love to.
How does overclocking play through? What needs to be tweaked along with the GPU, power supply, RAM? I guess overclocking, that would be another good area for not nerdy enough. I definitely feel like I'm better now than I once was. However, there's like levels of overclocking. There's like, I'm too nervous to even touch overclocking because I don't want to mess up my hardware. And I was there for a really long time. Took me a long time to get into overclocking. And then there's sort of like, I've done some basic overclocking, like multiplier-based stuff. And then maybe you start messing with some voltage. And then there's a really in-depth stuff where basically all those other settings in the motherboard, UEFI or BIOS menu, that like getting into all those, I think kind of makes you epic overclocker. And I like every now and then I learn like, oh, okay, that does that and that does that, but it takes a while, I think.
I mean, would you be comfortable recommending that people who don't know much about overclocking just to use maybe like an ASUS utility, the one that's built into the UEFI or Gigabytes, to just kind of play around with it?
Yeah, those have come a long way. It used to be the type of thing where it was difficult to recommend because they were so finicky. Sometimes they would work, sometimes they wouldn't. The newer ones, like the Asus Z87 series, the Z80, the Gold motherboard series, their overclocking utility actually very effective. It did a great job. I took all the CPUs that we had here and I binned them all to see how they would overclock, and it did a great job with all those. So yeah, it is nice that with the simplification of overclocking and multiplier-based stuff, as well as more of those sort of automated utilities being available. And even if you do want to overclock and do it yourself, you can use those automated utilities to kind of get a starting off point and then kind of tweak and tune from there. So nice. That's cool.
Very nice.
All right. Watching the Newegg stream on Friday night. Yeah.
Hey. Woohoo!
I don't know enough about propane and propane accessories. I like that. From Tori Allen. Yes, I'm right there with you. And somebody was mentioning my shirt. It's my Darth Vader shirt. All right.
I'm just getting more links ready. My apologies.
Steve's setting up some more links because we don't want to overload our streaming system over there. All right. Next up, we're going to move into a bit of discussion about our Yoked stories. So if you guys don't already watch our Yoked series, it has been a sort of tech news type / us attempting to be funny series that we've been doing for a while now. However, it's been sporadic. At times we do it every couple weeks. Sometimes we go a little bit longer. We are now trying to make that much more regular for you guys, so you know when it's going to happen. You can come back and watch it. So of course, if you're not already subscribe to the Newegg TV YouTube channel. We'll be posting Yoked episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoon. Maybe we might even get a time down at some point. But for right now, Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. So what we're going to do on the live stream is talk a little bit about some of those stories and maybe some of the things that we didn't get as much in depth about. So the first story was the Rhino. And I like the Rhino. This one's pretty exciting.
Okay, let me flip you back.
Look, a Forbes ad.
It's sort of lagging on the ads.
Oh, no worries. All right. So. This is the Rhino. If you guys didn't watch Yoked, it is a motorized unicycle.
Yes.
Less of like a one-wheel motorcycle than it is a one-wheel Segway.
Right.
It's not really made for like high-speed stuff. It goes like 10 miles per hour, and you can go for like an hour or something.
And I definitely wouldn't be riding on one wheel with minimal traction in the snow near an embankment.
It does look a little bit dangerous, but it's got a big fat motorcycle tire on it, so that's kind of cool. But
not enough horsepower to brake traction, apparently.
I guess the question is, would you ride a Rhino? One of these Rhinos.
I guess it's down this this direction. One of these Rhinos.
Oh yeah, we got to figure out what things look like over there.
Down over here somewhere.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool looking. I don't know, maybe if I lived in a small community where my work was like a few minutes away, I could do that instead of walking. But I feel like I'd just rather walk.
I would rather get a motorcycle.
Or get a motorcycle.
I would Ches it on two wheels.
Yeah, Ches rides a motorcycle. You can always hear him tearing out of the Newegg parking lot.
On one wheel all the time.
Yep. Just does a vulgar hand gesture to everyone. Tears out.
little knack.
Peace out. That's what he's going to be doing here in like an hour and a half. No, I'm just kidding. Chess is always very nice. All right, so that's the Rhino. If you guys are interested, the yoke stories there, or you can check the. We'll be posting all the links to all those stories as well once we upload this to YouTube. Yeah, Rhino's kind of cool. All right, next up is a story from Intel, and this is what is known as Jarvis. Basically, it's a hardware solution. Intel has integrated it into a little headset, and the idea here is that speech-to-text or voice recognition, which currently takes a fair amount of processing power, it is specially suited to handling that type of application. I don't know if it's quite what you could call an ASIC, but it's designed for voice recognition. So I don't know about you guys, but I use speech-to-text, like for text messages, as much as I possibly can.
Totally
I hate typing out messages. Like
But how often do you have to fix what you say to it?
It varies. Like, it seems like the times when I'm sitting in a quiet room and I have a very simple thing to say and I'm like, hey, do this and this and this, and it's like messes up every other word. And then I'm like driving in my car with the window down and I'm like, I'll be home in 10 minutes, and somehow it picks it up perfectly, or something like that. Not that I text while I'm in my car, of course. That was purely a hypothetical situation.
Of course.
But I'm kind of excited, maybe not necessarily about this product in specific, but just about this whole push towards more simpler voice recognition, speech-to-text stuff, because I love it. The upshot here is that normally if you do speech-to-text on your phone, it actually sends that data up into the cloud. They do cloud servers to parse it through and send you back what the text actually was. So it can be not as fast as people would like, and it can also not work if you don't have a data connection available right then.
Yeah,
so this will
be overloaded too. I mean,
yeah, or if it's over like Siri, right?
It happens quite a bit.
Yeah. So this is in the phone, so it does the processing in the phone, and it promises to be much more accurate than what's currently available, because you can already do this with like. Do
we have a picture of the earpiece in here?
It's what's right there? The dude was holding it.
That's just
chip. That's just the chip. I thought there was a picture of the dude holding the earpiece.
No, because that's the one other thing I don't like. Like, I like Jawbone earpieces. That is a commercial. Yeah, no, the earpiece was just big. It reminded me of the Jabra ones, the really big ones with the mic that comes off the edge there.
Is that how that's Jabra? That says Jabra.
Somebody correct me in there. Jabra.
Jabra?
I think it's Jabra. Yeah.
Could be either one.
I added a W. I'm sorry.
All right. So that's
that. You know what I'm feeling like right now? I'm kind of feeling like a little candy.
Oh, really?
Like a little bit of candy.
I like how Kyle's just not paying attention to anything. He's just he's
Kyle
just talking about.
He farted?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Kyle farted, everyone.
Really lowering the tone, Kyle.
Yeah.
Really.
He makes that noise with his throat. Says it's his throat. You guys know.
Oh yeah, that's been spotted in several of our live streams. Just trolling. All right, next up from our yoked topics was Candy Crush. If you guys haven't already heard about this, I'm kind of surprised because it's all over the internet. This is just one of those ridiculous stories of a company really taking advantage of their position and litigating like a sort of stupid amount. So King Games, who owns Candy Crush and the Candy Crush saga, they're trying to trademark, and they've submitted for a trademark on the word candy, and they're trying to enforce it. So the story is pretty hilarious because there were some indie developers created a game called Candy Jam, which was basically a game that lets you create a new game about candy to basically flood King or their lawyers with like as many candy games as they possibly could to just be a pain in their butt and troll them, which was pretty hilarious. I actually have a follow-up to this story that I found, which is that basically, if you guys didn't know this, Candy Crush Saga is the most popular app on the planet right now, and that's one thing. First off, most popular app on the planet, which I've never played the stupid thing.
I blocked it on my Facebook.
Steve's blocked it on Facebook.
I've gotten so many requests from so many people,
and
numerous others.
All right, so not only is it the most popular app on the planet, that means it has also it's sold more than like handheld consoles, and this is the first time this has happened. So the people have been talking about this for a while, with smartphones being smartphones, them being more graphically capable, that eventually they would replace handheld game consoles, whether you're talking about something newer like the Shield or whether you're talking about a Game Boy. And so now this is kind of it's kind of like when Android overtook iOS on like the mobile phone market, but given how popular this game is and how much money that King must be making right now, like they really need to go and try to trademark the word candy.
Hey, nobody come up with another candy game because we've got this on lockdown.
Yeah, it's just another one of those examples of lawyers are just, I don't know.
Well, the lawyers, they're just making money. They're hired guys.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess it's them doing a money grab or something like that. I don't know. Doesn't seem quite on the up and up to me. But I, for one, have never played the game, and I encourage you not to play it as well. This is probably a good time in the show to say that anything we say is our own opinions and not necessarily the opinions of Newegg.com. We're going to be doing a disclaimer at some point to set that off. All right. What are we on next?
Moving on to net neutrality?
Net neutrality. Oh, wait. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So net neutrality was actually one of our yoked topics this week as well. So I'm sorry, the candy one wasn't the last one. So we talked about net neutrality. There was what happened?
I messed with my Twitter feed and screwed it all up.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
You got pictures of dogs?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry,
guys.
Anyway.
So net neutrality, there was a jury, not a jury trial, but basically the FCC was proposing some restrictions on internet service providers. That was shot down this past week, which was initially seen as a bad thing. I don't know. I don't know exactly how to describe that. I wouldn't say I know enough about it to speak on it in that way. But the upshot here is that a lot more people have been talking about classifying ISPs as common carriers. So the example that I can come up with this right now is phones are classified, or phone service is classified as a common carrier, which means that they cannot distinguish between different phone calls, where they come from, who they come from, what company they're associated with, which network, the quality they come in. They can't distinguish that. They have to provide everyone with equal amounts of service. When you get a call on your phone, you don't look and say, oh, I subscribe to Verizon, but this call is from an AT&T customer. Accept this call for a convenience charge of $2 or something like that. They're not allowed to do that. If they classify ISPs for network or for providing internet access,
I think it's data or something.
Or data access, then they can't do this at all. So personally, I'm really hoping this happens. Steve?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to have. I would rather not a big company like Google and YouTube be able to say, all right, well, we really want to have a priority for YouTube, which is great, right? Because you're thinking YouTube. I always am on YouTube downloading something and viewing something, so I have much better bandwidth. But guess what? That cuts out from something else that may be a new startup, or you yourself decide to start hosting your own videos on your own website. Guess what? Now yours are going to load a lot slower, and people are just going to say, why don't you just go back to YouTube then?
Yeah.
I mean, it would basically corner the market for anybody who had the money to do what they want to do, if that's the way they go with it.
Yeah, I mean, regardless if it's a big company, a small company, they shouldn't be able to do that, at least in my humble opinion. So we're hoping that this information being spread around and people understanding what a common carrier is, and then also the potential for the ISPs that now have the leeway to perhaps act out in these certain ways to stifle the ability, for instance, of you to be able to watch Netflix. Or maybe you can watch Netflix, but they limit the bandwidth so you can only watch it at 360 or whatever the heck those low resolutions are. So we're hoping that people having knowledge of these types of things will help people to prevent this if they try to do it. That's kind of the beauty of the internet in general, is that people can discuss these types of things, so having that shut off would also suck. And I have a segue story from that yoked topic that we talked about net neutrality, and this is an example of why they should be classified as common carriers. This is already happening. This article is about a municipal broadband in Kansas. So basically, if you look at something like Google Fiber, was a co-op between Google and the local government in the areas where they've installed Google Fiber to provide crazy high bandwidth internet connections at reasonable, even low prices for the people who are out there. So this is basically this is a Senate bill in Kansas. It makes my head hurt to think about it. For multiple reasons, but all right, so this Senate bill comes in, and it's supposed to be ensuring that video telecommunications and broadband services are provided through fair competition consistent with the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996.
Lies.
Sounds like it's on the up and up, right? But actually what it says in the text is,
have a little addendum in the bottom of that.
Except with regard to unserved areas, a municipality, so like a local government or something, may not directly or indirectly offer or provide to one or more subscribers video, telecommunications, or broadband service. So basically, if this were to go through, I mean, this has just been presented in a Senate bill in Kansas, but if it were to go through, then Google would not be able to do Google Fiber. It's like it's outlawing like local people who are like, you know what, the ISP service here, like we don't have any good ISP service, and or maybe it's a single service market where they just don't care about customer service or anything like that. They're like, we're just going to outlaw it, so really you have no option except to go with the huge carriers that are doing stuff like limiting bandwidth and stuff like that. I'm actually
curious because I believe there was a Canadian government that did very small, like a small town that did something similar, and I think maybe the ISPs are thinking, oh well, wait a second, if they're doing this outside the U.S., we should nip this in the bud now and go after U.S. laws and then work on other laws outside of that in other countries.
But I mean, that's
a worldwide
threat. It's. I mean, it's basically if they have a stranglehold on a particular market, then they're able to take advantage of certain ways that market work. They're able to basically force people to pay more or create create shortages. So we don't have enough bandwidth, we had to throttle you or whatever. I mean, if you guys watch Logan over on Tech Syndicate at all, you're probably very familiar with this because it's been going on for quite a while. It's an ongoing fight. We encourage you all to jump in if you are so willing, because this is the type of thing that we want to be free and open. The internet should be available for everyone, and we should especially not. I didn't even get to. So this bill was introduced. It didn't list any lawmaker as its sponsor, because it's shady. Because it is shady. So a Senate employee told Ars Technica. It was submitted by John Federico on behalf of the Kansas Cable Telecommunications Association, which he's the president of, which is a lobbying group with members like Comcast, Cox Eagle Communications, and Time Warner. So basically, it's the cable companies trying to introduce legislation to prevent any competition, especially to prevent competition, particularly if it is supported by like local government,
right? Which
seems pretty silly and wrong to me. Okay.
What's next, man?
What is next? What is next?
To kill that because I have other things up.
I'm sorry. Every once in a while, I jump over to the Twitch chat, and it's always entertaining.
Funny things are happening.
All right. So,
where did I leave off here?
Broadband. This is the point in the live stream when we just totally forget. All right.
Stuff happens.
I'm supposed to do more Twitter feedback, and Steve, you're supposed to load up your other web pages now.
I like
okay.
That.
That's a great idea. All right. So I should bring up my Twitter. I'm going to go to my Connect. Here's a question from Tiffany Weeks. Will Linus be your first guest? We're not doing guests as of this time because we're not ready for that quite yet. We're still trying to kind of crystallize the dynamic of the show.
Yeah, things like the name.
Yeah, like the name of the show. We'll get to that. Those important things. Although, just if I may give myself a pat on the back, I was the first call-in guest on Linus's show, which is why his show's so popular. Right? That's all I can. No, I'm kidding. Mike is Mike, why are you tweeting me a question? You're standing right there. You could just be like, hey, Paul.
We're not that formal, Mike.
What kind of mouse pad do you have?
Hoxland wants to know what mouse pad this is. This is a Razer Mouse Pad, and it's really nice, and I don't know what model it is.
Yeah.
I'm
just
sorry.
Put them on the bottom.
I'm sorry, but I love mouse pads, and I try to hoard them whenever I can, amongst the other things.
One of the things you might not know is that having a massive mouse pad as something to use that's soft and cushiony to put a case on when you're working on it, when you're working on a system.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I got that trick from Paul, and it's
beautiful.
Awesome.
Or you can just go buy a big roll of rubber.
Yes.
Here's a good question. This is from MACIEK, Machek.
MOUSE.
Should you update the motherboard BIOS with every new update release? ASUS keeps releasing updates every 2 to 4 weeks. All right, so if you go back a few years, the recommendation was if your computer's working, then there's no need to update the BIOS. And I generally stick with that if you're not much of a tweaker or tinkerer, if you're not swapping parts out. If everything's working and everything's stable and you're not planning on doing anything with the actual hardware, stick with the BIOS that's working, unless it's like super, super outdated. I actually applaud ASUS. I was just updating the BIOSes on a couple of our test beds we have back here, Rampage 4 formulas. These motherboards came out over 2 years ago. They have 22 BIOS updates for these motherboards. Granted, they did come out with Ivy Bridge E, which was backwards compatible with those motherboards, so they had to patch those in. But I mean, the level of support that they've given for these enthusiast boards, I'm very happy with. They're maintaining stability and all that sort of thing. If you do a lot of swapping out of hardware and stuff like that, then go ahead and update your BIOS. Most newer motherboards are pretty good about giving you a fallback if something goes terribly wrong, either by way of having a couple different BIOS chips that you can physically swap out, or the USB BIOS flashback that's on the ASUS boards, which is another one of my favorite features in quite some time.
Sometimes I break the BIOS just so you can use it.
Really?
No.
That's you who does that? Keep wondering.
Hey, is this the right revision number? It's off by one number. I'm just going to flash it anyway.
Here's another not nerdy enough, hardcore liquid cooling. I'm right there with you on that one. I've done like a few systems here and there, but not a ton of them. Oh, that's from Strider. Strider's tweet. Thanks, Strider. We call it the New Land Show. Another good idea for the name. All right, cool. I guess I'm caught up.
Last question.
Yes.
Last question.
Oxlon wanted to know what mouse you were using, not what mouse pad.
Oh, this is the Rat 7 from Cyborg. Actually, it's just Mad Catz now. I think they've stopped using the Cyborg name, but Mad Catz. I like this. It's a cool mouse. I like it because it's a unique design, and it's one of those things where you looked at it and you're like, I have never seen something like that before, and it's actually pretty functional. Some of the newer ones don't have quite as many of the configuration adjustment options, but yeah, pretty solid mouse overall.
I had a couple friends that game with that, and they swear by it.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, just the fact that it can adjust for like claw grips and palm grips and all those variations, pretty cool.
Cool.
All right.
So,
now we have
that's right. That's
Steve, you should introduce our this next segment.
Because I forgot the name of it. We just came up with it.
It's right here.
Oh, let me check the show notes.
Right
Cryptocurrency Chronicles.
Yes.
This is our new segment on our new show that doesn't have a name yet.
Everything's new.
We have names on the show.
We at least have names for the segment. Sorry,
yes.
Cryptocurrency Chronicles. Basically, since there's so much news and stuff about cryptocurrencies, we're just grouping them together. So first off, we should have an animation, by the way, of Scrooge McDuck diving. Well, we can't use Scrooge. But we could use Mr. Lamb McDuck. Oh yeah,
diving into
yeah, that'd be sweet. Yeah. All right. So first off, when it comes to using bitcoins, there have been more and more retailers who have been accepting them here and there. We heard Overstock is now accepting bitcoins. Google. In this article from Forbes is said that they are now considering integrating bitcoins as a form of payment. Again, this is very, very preliminary, so we don't want to put any words into Google's mouth. But Google's Senior Vice President Vic Gundrota was communicating with the author of this article, Andy Greenberg. Basically says they're working with the payments team to figure out how to incorporate bitcoins into our plans. So
very cool. Google Wallet could maybe now house your bitcoins wallet as well. So that's pretty cool, since and that's the type of thing where Google's huge, so if them adopting it would have a waterfall effect, I think, for lots of other places that might accept bitcoins as well. At least it'll push the wallet. I'm already seeing Dogecoin references in chat, so we'll move on to our next two things. All right, so Dogecoin. Deutsch. No, go. It's Dogecoin, right? It's Dogecoin, yeah. I'd spent like 20 minutes trying to find different people pronouncing Dogecoin to see that I was pronouncing it correctly. But all right. First off, here's a fun little story. Dogecoin. All right, so Indian athletes, that's from India, have been trying to go to Sochi for the Olympic Games, Winter Olympic Games, which are starting like next week, I think, right? Right. Within a week or two. Now, India has I think the IOC has some beef with India or something like that. I don't really know all the history behind that. But basically, the Indian luge team
put out a request for people to make donations, and they basically started accepting Dogecoin donations. And they were able to raise, it says 6,000 in this article, but I actually read over $7,000 were raised in Dogecoins to send the Indian luge team to Sochi for the Winter Olympics. Thought that was kind of cool.
That is cool.
Excellent use for Dogecoin. And then
they made it.
And then this other story. I mean, it's funny because it seemed like when we first heard, oh, there's a Dogecoin now. It's like, oh, they're making coins out of whatever, you know. It is now the 5th most valuable cryptocurrency that's available, which is hilarious. It's been out for 7 weeks now, but you know, I think this has to do with Bitcoin. All right, so Bitcoin is a bit more susceptible to like ASICs. Or application-specific integrated circuits. So if you have ASIC machines, they can mine bitcoins like none other at much less power requirements. So it kind of pushes like the kind of home miner out of the scene a little bit more, like Mike over there. You know, his home mining rig. So people have been switching over to alternate coins. So like Litecoin is very popular for that because it is ASIC resistant. But Dogecoin. I don't know. That's just really funny.
What I found fascinating when we first saw this was I was like, oh well, clearly there's only 6. Not knowing anything else about cryptocurrencies, I was like, well, number 5 is not doing too great then. Yeah. And then Paul's like, oh well, let's go look it up real quick. And
all right. So
boom.
This is CoinMarketCap.com, which has a list of like every cryptocurrency that's currently available. So it starts off with Bitcoin, which has a current dollar volume of $17 million worth of Bitcoins that are out there at current valuation. Moves on down to Ripples, Litecoin, Peercoin, and then Dogecoin at number 5. And then this list is huge. How many are there?
Down to the bottom here.
There's 86 that are just on this list, including some down at the bottom, which I think haven't been mined.
Yacoin?
What?
You didn't get any Yacoins?
Yacoin?
Yacoin?
Yacoin. I liked
Cougar coins. Sweet.
I liked that there's a cat coin, but there's also a kitty coin. And the kitty coin is doing much better than cat coin, so.
Wasn't there something else funny about kitty coin that you mentioned earlier?
We should.
Meows.
Yeah, the kitty coins are meows. They're not coins, they're meows. Yeah. And there's like, that's pretty awesome. We should do like a financial analysis portion of the show where we talk about all the different coins. I recommend taking your money out of kitty coin and putting it into.
Sell.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Buy.
Well, anyways, all right, so that's all for Cryptocurrency Chronicles.
Stay tuned for next week when we embarrass ourselves with another crypto coin chronicles.
This is going to be epic. We're going to continue this.
What do we got next, Paul?
Targeted ads.
Not like targeted ads.
Is our next topic.
Targeted ads.
Because this is something I'm actually kind of curious about. I personally tune out ads. I'm very like banner ads or whatever, or like the pre-ad that pops up. Commercials on TV, I mute them. I really don't like ads.
I'm mesmerized by this guy right now in this picture. I know.
That's what's his face from. Yeah. I've forgotten his name already.
Doesn't matter.
Sai. It's Sai. I'm sorry. Okay. So I don't like ads. I tune ads out. But what has become very popular, and this is thanks to Google among others, is targeted ads. So they kind of track what you've been doing. And then they're like, hey, you've been doing this, so maybe you're interested in this. Like, sometimes it's based on a cookie, sometimes it's based on your IP. So like, my wife will like go shopping for shoes or something like that, and then I'll get ads on my computer for like Zappos and shoes and I don't know, that sort of thing. So, targeted ads. Is this something that you find like useful? Do you think it's helpful when they're like, hey, we can make these ads more effective for you? Are you like, oh, well, that's nice, then the things I ignore can
be further ignored? I don't know.
Be further ignored, or is it like, well, at least it's something that's relevant to me? Like,
I typically ignore the ads. Like, there was a short period of time where I was working with people that were doing Google ads, and they were trying to sell me on the legitimacy based on the amount of the percentage of people who use Google for searching. And I agree with that. I agree that there's more eyes seeing it. But my eyes, and probably a lot like yours, ignore ads by default. Yeah. By default, I don't look at them. By default, unless it's one of those annoying ones that pop up and I'm never going to buy anything from something that pops up and forces me to click it. I will force myself not to, even if it's something amazing.
The annoying ads that pop up make me close that website as a whole. I'm like, website should not have even allowed this on your website, so I'm not going to browse your website anymore. I actually saw, where'd it go? Zitrix23 says he loves targeted ads, likes getting cool PC ads. I guess that's reasonable. The Newegg ad will pop up for us a lot because we obviously go to Newegg.com a lot, and I've definitely seen that before. You know, you get the little, little carousel thing that pops through, and maybe you see an item pop up there for a price that you weren't expecting to see or something like that. So I guess in that respect, it could be useful.
I think what we should be doing though is try and force some crazy targeted ads on Kyle, and just get his computer and just start searching for the most random crap on the internet, and just have him get these weird ads and walk in and call him out on it. Dude, what have you been searching? What is this? Why do you have women's lingerie?
We used to do that in college, but I can't tell you the websites that we brought. Okay, I haven't even brought it around to the actual story that we're talking about. Okay, so apart from targeted ads, you guys probably know what those are. Television, targeted ads with television. Satellite TV providers have already started to do this, but Comcast and NBC Universal they're trying to woo the marketers, because you have to say, oh, look at all the eyeballs we can sell to you. Basically with I think it said for pay-per-view, if I'm remembering this correctly from when I skimmed it earlier today. But yeah, so not only on your computer and the banner ads that pop up and all that sort of thing, but actually while you're watching TV too, targeted ads, not just blanket for whatever show you happen to be watching, but something that's more specific to you or to what you've browsed or to what your tastes are, or that sort of thing. So I think we've already said our opinions on this. And yeah, I mean, I fast forward through ads anyway.
Yeah, I mean, other than not seeing them, I guess I would rather have something I just don't want something tracking me, I guess is what it is. It annoys me, it bothers me that it has to be there. That's why
true.
I just clear that out every so often anyways.
Yeah, Steve is very serious about online privacy and security.
I guess that moves us forward to this Maximum PC article, right?
Yes. So we got a couple Windows articles up next. Steve?
So we have Microsoft's update to Windows 8.1 may boot directly to the desktop by default.
Yeah.
I think that'd be helpful. I don't necessarily like having that Metro screen.
Yeah, the Metro. I mean, this is sort of a continuing in the series of things that have happened since Windows 8 first launched. This is something that you can do right now yourself. If you go to the desktop and right-click on the tray, you can bring up the settings for that, and you can tell it to boot to the desktop. You can tell it to go to the desktop instead of the Metro UI when you minimize all the programs, and that's what I always do. So having it there by default, yeah, that's pretty cool. But this is also sort of a nod towards Microsoft, I guess, accepting or acknowledging to some extent that there's a lot of these elements of Windows 8 that people weren't very happy with. So one of the things I wanted to ask you guys out there was, how many of you, well, I can't say how many of you are using Windows 8. Of the people who are using Windows 8 and who have updated to Windows 8.1, what sort of an impact do you feel that had? Because for me, I heard the people saying it really, it's just a few little things that they did, but for me, the impact of just some really minor UI changes, like being able to see your desktop through the Metro UI, booting to the desktop, of course. The start button, even though it just pulls up Metro, I always right-click it and I do the little hidden thing so I can actually shut down from there. That was a big improvement for me. So I thought it brought things back towards where they need to be. I'd love to see like a half-screen version of Metro, so you can still see the desktop in the background.
Maybe something just pops in or drops down or something.
Yeah, and then there's some other changes to this update that they're talking about. Shutdown and search buttons on the start screen, very helpful. Shutting down was one of my...
Yeah, that's a
I was just, Windows 8 original, I was like, how do you shut down?
I don't know. I just wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't really use. I have currently one system right now. I have Windows 8 installed on it, and I didn't install it until after 8.1 came out. So I don't have any other than working here and using others to fix their laptops. I didn't really have any experience with 8. I didn't really like it. I think 8.1 made me like it more, or maybe tolerate it more.
It's definitely fast. It's snappy, and if you get Windows 8 and you get one of the motherboards that have come out in the past year or two that have UEFI and the full Windows 8 integration, then you can literally get like 8 to 12 second boot time, and that
an
is
SSD you didn't have.
Oh, and an SSD, I should say, as well. I guess I take SSDs for granted these days.
Yeah.
And then the ability to pin Windows 8 apps on the desktop taskbar, which I can go without.
Yeah,
I don't use any Windows 8 apps.
It's not a deal breaker for me.
All right, so that's one little Windows bit. And then the other little Windows bit I wanted to talk about is Windows 9, right? Windows 9.
Sure.
So there's already some bit of rumors, bit of speculation. I mean, this is sort of that time frame when, you know, different areas of the market are weighing in, whether you're IT field or whether you're home user, whatever, on like what should happen and what shouldn't happen. I mean, again, what we're reading so far is still going to be a big push towards mobile, because I mean that's always the integration, and they're trying to get the Windows Phone to work with Windows 9. It's expected in 2015, according to the, again, rumors, articles that we've been reading thus far, and
it's on Tech Radar on this one.
And then, yeah, there's also a possibility that we might get Windows 8.2 before Windows 9. Still no word on pricing or anything like that. But, you know, I mean, Windows has that kind of every other OS thing that went on, and I heard so much of that leading up to the Windows 8 launch.
Yeah.
And who knows if that was like self-fulfilling prophecy or people just having that expectation or whatever. But if that is continuing on once again, then Windows 9 should be super awesome.
Yes. Learn from your mistakes in 8. Learn from your mistakes in Vista.
Yeah. So,
Every
all right.
other one.
There's some Windows discussion.
Cool.
Kill it with fire. Or we could kill it with fire. That's always a good option. Oh, dual boot. Dual boot in Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 and never use Windows 8.1. Yeah, Windows 8.1 was, I feel like it was never really made that much sense as an upgrade to Windows 7.
Yeah.
Like, just didn't. I bought a few copies pre-release because it's always super cheap then, and I knew I would have computers to use it with eventually. But yeah, and then here's another thing from Mr. Jimmy Penguin. Adding on a little start button app can also make a night and day difference, especially if it shuts down that whole Metro UI overall.
Yeah.
But okay.
Okay.
We are, wow, time is flying. We're moving right along. We've got a few more topics for you guys here today. And let's see, we talked about Windows, 3D printing.
Yes.
All right, this is a random little thing. All right,
This is really cool, actually. I could add something onto this. I didn't actually read the article, but I'll let you go and then.
Well, I mean, we haven't talked about this on Newegg TV at all, but I think Newegg Twitter did tweet this out. 3D printing is being used for everything, and this was an article about 3D printing a house.
Yeah.
This massive 3D printer that can build a house in 24 hours, which is pretty sweet. I don't know.
It's really cool. Like the way it lays the concrete, it's sort of, obviously it's liquid concrete, and it's moving left and right to fill the center of the wall, and then one long outline.
Have you seen this in action?
I've actually watched a future show. I forget the name of it.
Oh, okay.
It was on Science Channel. I love the Science Channel. And it was actually relating to the fact that if we were going to colonize Mars at some massive, long future point from now, it would be really cool to send drones up, something like this system of building it, and it would use the Mars soil to make concrete and then start building buildings. And then you'd already have some kind of a structure by the time humans were landing there to work with.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, so that one we saw bouncing around like in the past week or two. Here's a new one that just popped up today.
Ooh, I like this.
Acura has released 3D models for 5 of their concept cars.
Yeah.
So you can 3D print your own Acura NSX.
Jerry,
with a 3D printer.
Print a couple of these, man. This looks cool.
Let's print those out.
Yeah.
Like
Barnacules, right?
Vernacules?
Vernacules?
I think it's.
I feel like it's Vernacules. Like it's like Hercules, right? Vernacules?
Yeah, I think that's how it goes by.
Either way, Jerry, just help us out.
Yeah, Jerry, let's get on this. I mean, this is insane. The thing I couldn't quite get from this article, I assumed it was talking about 3D printing like scale models, you know, small ones.
What are they saying then?
Well, the article's saying that they've released the 3D printing data.
So the models. The actual.
Yeah, the models. So I would imagine that you could scale that up or down depending on how big your 3D printer actually is. Right. But yeah, it seems like just building models. But the first comments was reverse engineer the files, scale up by X, use carbon fiber printer.
Yeah, did you hear about
poof.
Those carbon fiber printers?
And poof, you have a new custom body shell for kit cars based on the concept cars by Honda.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a good idea.
Except the thickness wouldn't be right. You'd have to have individual parts that were actually modeled.
Right.
But the entire car would be cool because you can maybe make a unibody. That'd be cool.
We need to start a Kickstarter to buy Jenny like a house-sized 3D printer so that she can print car parts and do
That's what we were looking at. That Jenny and I were looking at the
and build us all cars.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be super sweet.
Yeah.
Everyone thought I was being nice to Jenny, and then I was like, oh, just turn it around back so it'll benefit us.
It's all about Paul.
Yeah, pretty much.
He would like his own things.
I want a 3D printed friend.
Oh, yes, get on that.
Oh, that's so sad.
I'm sure it's sad in a happy way. He already has real friends. He wants a third and fourth friend is what it is.
What else might you 3D print that you might, I mean, apart from buildings and cars, like, there was another article.
Keyboard keys?
Keyboard keys? Okay, that's a good one. I saw an article earlier when I was researching. I didn't include it, but it was for people who are disabled with disabilities often have situations where, you know, they really need a custom thing built, you know, to a ramp or something like that. And they were using 3D printers to help like wheelchair access and that sort of thing. So that seemed
pretty cool.
That seemed pretty useful.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime it's going to be used to build something other than like weapons, something constructive, I'm always happy with that. No sword. I mean, as long as
it's still kind of a weapon.
As long as it's not battle ready, right? Yeah.
All right. Are we moving forward?
Let's move forward. All right. I like this next one. This is a fun one. This is the Leaf.
That's a nice sound.
This is all right. So this is the large European acoustic facility, and this is a sound system that can kill you, which is just.
How do they know?
Which is really a grabber as an article. Well, I mean, because there's certain, what is it? Like Myth on MythBusters. You know, they use those.
You made that sound gun.
They use those pressure panels. I'm guessing this is something where it would like rupture your capillaries or something like that. Okay. But I'm not sure if that's. Yeah, exactly. Like you play it and like your blood starts coming out of your nose and they pass over and die or something like that. But yeah. You might think it was invented to get back at dudes that drive at 3 in the morning with their massive subs cranked up. It's actually for research. So the reason that they built this is because it's capable of subjecting satellites to the same noise a launcher produces as it takes off and flies through the atmosphere. So that's the practical purpose of this, because you're sending a satellite up, it's going to be very loud, and those noise is sound waves, and that can possibly damage sensitive equipment. So it's really for testing, but you could also... Actually, what I was reminded of was Back to the Future.
Which part?
The very first scene in Back to the Future.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Marty McFly, he goes into Doc's laboratory, cranks up all the speakers, gets his metal guitar pick, and just explodes that massive...
Marty, let's tell you, don't turn the amplifier all the way up.
I was experiencing some... and now we're just going to play Back to the Future for you for the rest of the live stream. That would be super sweet.
Did you guys watch it?
I would.
We could
it's
do
classic.
like
Actually,
MST 3000.
What I'm looking forward to, 2015 is coming up, and I know there's going to be a ton of Back to the Future stuff for I've already seen stuff like, oh, what did Back to the Future get right for what was happening in 2015?
The mall's like right here.
Oh yeah, we live really close to the mall. It's actually the Puente Hills Mall right over here, where they filmed that whole scene at the beginning with the Libyans and Doc Brown and Marty. Yeah. And one of my favorite little Easter eggs from the movie, at the beginning of the movie, it's Twin Pines Mall, and then he goes back in time, and he's on the farm or whatever, and he drives over one of the trees. In the end of the movie, when they come back to it, it's the Lone Pine Mall.
And I missed that. I remember you mentioned that.
I did too, and I mean it was one of those specials on it or something. But I was just like, they made a sign just for that, and that's Zemeckis right there. He's attention to detail. Princess Bride for the win. Oh yeah. Yeah. Love Princess Bride.
Great movie. All right, so we got one last one. It's a Google Translate article.
All right, this is a Google Translate article. This is a fun one for the end here.
Dictionary Cannon. So
this is. Steve actually recently did a video on a development board from Intel.
Oh, right, the Arduino board.
It's an Arduino board. Arduino, yeah. So this is another actually good, not nerdy enough topic, because this is something that I am fascinated with, but I literally have zero experience with. But these little Arduino boards, and they're using them for logic-based stuff to program things that you plug into, and that's a very generic description. But so these guys have made a Marshmallow Cannon. Yeah,
So what did they, I mean, does it just like have an actuator or some kind of
well, it's Arduino controlled, and the great thing about it is the automation that they built into it. So The mechanism, it says, is pretty simple for shooting the marshmallow, but the intelligence that it has, it can automatically recognize your face and aim. It can tell that you open your mouth, and then it shoots a marshmallow into your mouth. And this, in my opinion, is the pinnacle of technology. I feel like there's nowhere to go from here. Like basically,
nothing you've thought of with your Arduino board, whether it be saving people's lives or anything in the snow, you need to have something to. No, you could have a beer launcher.
Yeah. So they used Arduino C and Python for the programming language, and yeah, it's like it pretty much goes. You know, the transistors were invented, you know, Skynet, and then like Arduino Marshmallow Launcher, I think is got to be right above there. So,
wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
all right.
That covers our stories.
That covers our stories. That's everything that we have actually planned for today. Again, this is our first ever live stream, so we really appreciate any feedback that you guys might have for us, whether it's ideas for segments that we might do. Obviously, in the future, there's a ton of different avenues we can go. At some point, we might consider bringing in possibly having a guest call in or something like that. Sometimes we have the capability to bring people in here physically as well, if you want to have people on camera. And yeah, really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching for today. Of course, whether you're watching now live or whether you're going to be watching this when we upload it to YouTube, which will be very soon, probably on Monday, you guys can check this out. And
stay tuned, because we're doing it every Friday, like Paul said, which means at some point or another there's going to be a complete train wreck, and you can't miss it. It's going to be really funny.
That's true. Oh, I remember what we're going to do at the end of the show here.
Oh, right. There were things.
Hold on. We were
going to search for stuff. And I do not have that set up properly to do this.
You don't, but we got to check on it.
Yes.
All right, first off, yay! All right, first off, I had to double check. Linus did retweet me, so thank you, Linus, if you're watching.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, so our Linus update for any of you who are planning on continuing Geek Friday or whatever you want to call it and watching the WAN show. We don't have any updates from Linus. We have some.
We're gonna give you the time and the.
We have some responses. Oh, we can tell you that the tech just went live a couple hours ago. So feel free to jump over there and check out Logan on his channel, Tech Syndicate. It's Raise the World on YouTube with a 0. Just look up Tech Syndicate and you'll find it. And then we need a message to send to Linus. If anybody who watched this show goes and watches the WAN show and delivers this message to Linus, then we will be happy.
I got it. Just tell him we decided on the name. It's going to be the NAW Show. N-A-W.
The NAW Show. All right. So get some feedback from Linus, what he might think of that for a name. But that's all for this one, guys. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all you guys for tuning in today. Feel free to head over to Newegg TV channel if you want to see some more tech coverage. Thanks to Mike for helping us run the show in the back there, as well as Rachel, who's been helping with some moderation, as well as the rest of the team who's over there making fart jokes, apparently. And
you in the chat room.
Steve, any closing words?
No, I want to thank you guys also for watching, and stay tuned every Friday, as well as everything else we've been throwing at you on Newegg TV, and we'll see you guys very soon.
Peace.